There it is.
Hey, Bobby, we're live.
I think we are. And it is week 93. And it is a beautiful day at this wonderful winery and a wonderful day with our beloved panel of guests here. And so like to go through everybody right now. We have Dr. Richard Becker, our owner proprietor. And then we have Joseph Becker, and also our owner and proprietor as well. And then we have John Leahy, our lovely winemaker. We have Nicole back to grace us with her presence again, and our marketing director, and then myself, Bobby Totten, e-commerce director here. And really glad and excited to share these lovely wines with you guys tonight. I named it Visit of Bordeaux because these are, Bordeaux varietals, kind of showcasing like the Chateau Cheval Blanc inspiration, and with the Chevaux Noir, and then the Wilmeth Cab. So what we're going to be going through is the 2016 Chevaux Noir, the 2014 Chevaux Noir, and then the 2014 Wilmeth Family Cab. So to open up, I'd like to pass this over to Joe, and so here's some lovely words, sir.
I prefer to go by my official title. My cousin and I earned it long ago, which is Grape Nut, or co-assistant Grape Nut. Andrew and I earned that many summers ago, and so I feel that's more appropriate.
For me, I hope not. No, I don't think so. Jim John, that's a Jim Johnson, if I ever heard one.
So yeah, it's a long story that involves purple primer, but we don't need to go into that right now. So I just would want to say that I always like to talk about the schools and my appreciation for, especially my children are blessed to go to a wonderful school with teachers that are coming to work every day, wearing masks, just braving this, frontline healthcare workers, providing incredible education to my children despite everything that's going on. And I have to say I'm blessed and very lucky that my children are getting to experience that. And also I would just say that, gosh, I know this is just hard and seemingly unending. We've had a couple of personal experiences recently, at least two for me, where people with normally very straightforward medical conditions had their surgeries, care prolonged because the hospitals are mostly full of patients that are unvaccinated. So I just hope that everybody, whatever you're doing, staying home, being safe, I personally have tried to make the best of this by trying to enjoy as much time with my family. And that includes my children, my wife, as well as my extended wine family, of course, my father and Margaret. So I just have to say, I haven't been on in a while, but it's nice to be back with my extended wine family and everybody out there who's a part of this.
Well said, Joe.
Very well said.
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to say this is a celebration of Cabernet Franc tonight, and so all of these grapes and these wines are all either Cabernet Franc blends or they're Cabernet Franc related grapes. So Merlot comes from Cabernet Franc, and as does Cabernet Sauvignon, across with the Sauvignon Blanc. So
right.
we have many expressions of Cabernet Franc here tonight, and this is exciting. I'm so proud of these wines that I probably should just sit quietly and sip them. But this is really, really exciting for me. And I'm very proud.
Did I just hear "sit quietly" from Dr. Becker?
I'll do my best. I may fail at this, but
Hey, hello, buddy.
So Pucci needs to know that Cabernet Franc is known as Bucci, and it was planted by a man named Boucher in the 17th century, but it's called Bouche or Bucci. So Pucci likes Bucci would be good. Got it?
Nicholas, do you want to just have a quick taste and see how you like Bucci here?
All right.
How many thumbs?
Thumbs
One
up?
thumb, one thumb.
One thumb or two? All right.
Oh, he was
Uh,
John. He was telling me, he was asking me last night if you
Really
bought your house yet. So I,
Yeah, apparently.
All right. Stop.
Uh,
Everyone's a critic.
yeah, exactly. Oh. So I take it we're starting with the 16 Chevaux Noir.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you what, so I poured these about 40 minutes ago, all these wines, and this one, the 16, is starting to open up. Before I wax eloquent, Doc, what are you getting on the nose?
Strawberry and violet and graphite, blackcurrant. I mean, just super duper.
Mhm.
it's got a lot of very nice, also dark concentrated dark fruit notes on the front palate. It's very rich right off the start.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, so Nicole, you haven't been on with us for a while. One, I'm happy to see you back on the broadcast with us, and I always enjoy your palate and your take. So what are you getting off of this?
Immediately, I pick up a lot of stewed fruit, and I agree with Joe about that it's being very concentrated. I also pick up, I would say, a little bit of a earthiness, a little bit of peppers, also definitely violets. Picking up a lot of floral violets on this, and it's got nice tannins. Still got great grip, as Dr. Becker likes to say, but very delicious. And what's the percentage of Franc on this one?
Oh, good Lord, I have to look at the bottle.
I think
It's 30%.
Okay.
30%. Yeah, so classic 70-30.
I love the I'd love to know where the Cab Franc is from, but I just, I absolutely love the that kind of smooth peppery note that you get on the finish of this wine. And that to me is this Cab Franc really holding up,
Right.
maturing nicely.
Well,
I
Joe,
still
I
think-
can.
Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say I can pull that up here with my handy dandy little app. And just in case Rachel's watching, I really am learning how to use it, Rachel.
So as Bobby alluded to earlier, and I know we've tasted this wine several times on here before, the idea, and actually I think we first experimented with some of our early culinarias, but was to replicate the Cabernet Franc Merlot blends that Bobby was mentioning, the so-called Cheval Blanc. And in naming this wine, it's, because of trademarks and so forth, we evolved it to Chevaux Noir, but it's Cabernet.
Yeah, so the Cabernet Franc all comes from the Becker Vineyards.
Okay.
Which is
And the Merlot from Jet.
Yeah, Merlot from Jet and from Steve Newsom from Amancer. And there is a little bit, I apologize, there is a small amount of the Cab Franc came from Bingham, but the
I was
majority,
going to say,
yeah, about, looks like about 90% of the Cab Franc came from Reddy and about 10% from Bingham.
and Bingham and Reddy have always been our two very solid providers of Cab Franc.
Yes, they
Yeah.
have. And Cab Franc does extraordinarily well in High Plains. Just that and Merlot, those two. I mean, there are a lot of varietals that do very well, but as far as the Bordeaux varietals that we use, those two excel up there. It's really nice.
What's been your experience like, John, with how the Cab Francs that you've made here in Texas compared to how some of the Cab Francs that you dealt with in California, how they matured on the vine and matured in the bottle? Obviously different climates.
Well, yeah, I mean, different climates, yes, but as far as the maturation goes, I mean, it's pretty similar. However, I gotta be honest with you, the stuff from the High Plains and no Jet, does not mean you get to charge me $99,000 a ton. But the Cab Franc, especially from Reddy and from Bingham, both really remind me of very steep hillside, western slope, Spring Mountain area in Napa. Very dense with those pyrzines, incredible expression. And there's a beautiful vineyard that I was lucky enough to deal with up there, Trespass, that had Cab Franc that was unbelievable. These Cab Francs remind me of that. So very dense.
Interesting.
Boy.
Yeah, this 16 Chevaux Noir is turning out to be quite nice. It's almost at the peak of readiness here. I think it's still got a couple more years before it's going to hit its true peak, but man, it's nice. It's a 26.
You know, speaking of 16, it was in the 16th century that Cardinal Richelieu transplanted this grape from Loire into Bordeaux, and it's done well.
And then made its way all the way over here.
All the way to Tokyo.
All the way.
All the way to Tokyo.
Let's see, that would have been un roi, un foie, un roi, un cepage.
Well done.
I see. Nice.
Cabernet Franc means probably just the dark grape, the black grape of France. First appeared in print in 1886. So it's a relatively new concept as a word, but it's really done well.
You'd have
Beautiful.
to imagine that well, I was just wondering, Jefferson loved Aubryon, but you'd have to wonder at that point, was that probably mostly Cab Franc, Merlot?
Gosh, I don't know that. It could be.
That's a good question. Joe, for a mere $250,000, we could buy a bottle of Jefferson's Aubryon and try it.
We could.
Yeah, so I think it's probably, we could write it off as R&D.
Well, Petrus is now offering a $1 million bottle of Cabernet Franc. I think it's 100% Cabernet Franc, and it spent 7 months in space. So in the space lab. So it's had an interesting aging, and I think it'd be fun to taste it.
Yeah.
Maybe, don't
get the ideas about moving your wine cellar to outer space.
Well, I was going to say, I grew up with a lot of people in California that spent a lot of time in outer space.
That's right.
Their house.
Some in our local vicinity also, but we won't go there.
Hey, Dr. Becker, what about, a couple of years ago, there were some people talking about aging their wines, like putting the bottles in the sea. Like
that's been done a fair amount, yeah.
Have you
Yes.
tried some?
Haven't done it. We have a swimming pool. I could, I'm willing to experiment. I'm afraid would drive.
I did that on accident a few years ago.
Where were you at? Oh, okay.
Bobby, would you give us some serious analysis of this?
There you go.
Yes.
Our voice of
Please,
reason.
Bobby.
Now this Chevaux Noir is very enticing. I mean, it just the way it lingers, and it just it kind of carries over. I love, one of my favorite things is going through the retronasal and kind of picking up the deep kind of forest floor characteristic that kind of showcases on the finish, which is just is amazing. Definitely getting some of the plumbing characteristic, and the tannin structure is just it's there. It's beautiful. So.
Well said, Bobby. I think it's got a very subtle finish. I agree with you.
Yeah, so it does. Mine's just opening up now. I would say this wine definitely needs about an hour and a half to decant before service.
Yes,
I'm getting, it's gone through that almost closed in, a little ethyl acetate on the edge, to opening up to the fruit, to that almost cabbage edge, the vegetative edge.
Right.
That's blowing off. The fruit's coming in a lot stronger. So it's fun if you've got some old bottles and you're not used to decanting wine. I always love telling people, decant the wine, pour a glass, and then every 5 minutes or so, take a swirl and sniff. It's fascinating to see that arc that you go through of how it opens up. It kind of almost closes in, it kind of opens back up. You really do need to give it time. And it's a wonderful learning tool. And plus it's, it doesn't hurt like taking a math test at 7 a.m.
I would also add, John, don't be afraid to ask for a decanter in a restaurant. A
No,
lot of
do not. Yeah.
it actually kind of, it shows some appreciation to the sommelier for the wines that he's chosen for the menu, and it's wonderful for the wine.
For the most part, I've had some really nice somms at restaurants, and they're extraordinarily happy to help you. They love that. I got almost any somm that truly has a passion absolutely loves the idea of helping somebody through, letting them know why something is done, and you ask for a decant, they'll be happy to do it, because plus they get to taste the wine too. That's part of the job. So they're very, very happy.
Here's the funny, we had lunch at Jean Georges a few weeks ago, and I courageously bought a half bottle of Burgundy, and the sommelier came over, and I said, I'd like to have the Mercury, and
Oh, wow.
and I'd like you to decant it. And he said to me, well, it's a Burgundy. We generally don't decant Burgundy. I said, I do. And he said, yeah, and decanted it. It was great.
They probably don't have a lot of British customers there, I guess.
Oh,
Great.
all right. Any other further comment on the wine before we move
No,
on?
but I want to let's go to the 14 and compare them.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, the 14.
Yeah.
14 Chevaux.
And it is
Wow.
80% Merlot, 20% Cab Franc, and I think I learned from Joe the origin of Merlot is the French word for blackbird.
Right.
Yeah, and this is this is probably the most widely planted grape in France, and blended almost everywhere.
And a beloved wine of Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Yes.
We
I definitely feel like Cabernet Franc is a underrated grape. And it's interesting when you hear people talk about wines, and especially like Cabernet Sauvignons, that don't realize that sometimes there are Cabernet Sauvignons that have some Cabernet Franc blended in it. And then also what the percentages are. But definitely, it's definitely a workhorse, and it brings a lot to the table for sure.
Mhm. Say, was Eleanor of Aquitaine, was that one of Doc's classmates?
I think she was a year or two behind, maybe.
Find him.
thanks.
Didn't see that yearbook.
Uh,
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Well,
It's got some fun toasty notes to it, like some almond. Still picking up some of the earthy notes.
does
A little bit of dried leaves with this.
a little orange zest, a little mincemeat.
Mhm.
I got that citrus zest on there.
Uh-huh.
It's also got a fun texture to it as well. Also a little bit chewy, with this.
Sure. It's just, it opens completely different. I mean, from the 16 that we had, just orange zest, mincemeat, as Dad says, just an absolutely beautiful fruit note that hits your palate.
Black currant.
Yes.
A little bit of like a candied raspberry.
Think how good this would be with lots of different food. I mean, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Your sister's mincemeat.
I'm sorry. Mincemeat?
Mincemeat.
Oh, I want a mincemeat pie now. Thank you, Joe.
Well, as I understand it, his mother told me that the secret ingredient in her mincemeat pie was a little bit of orange juice, as I recall.
Mm-hmm. That's
A
right.
little bit of citrus.
Yep.
Mm.
Oh,
So it's interesting too how that the peppery note from the I'm sorry, I'm fixated on it, but that peppery note from the green peppery note from the Cab Franc is more integrated into the finish. It's you could see how the direction this wine is heading in as it ages.
Right. Yeah, well, and it doesn't hurt being 8 years old now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
It's grown up a little bit.
Yeah.
It is, but I'm sorry, but really good red wines to me are at 10 years of age. That's when you want to start drinking them.
I agree. Yeah.
That and it takes a long time to get there.
And a lot of patience to hold on to it.
Yeah, I nowhere else in my life do I distribute patience. It doesn't even exist. I can't wait 60 seconds for a microwave to heat up a cup of coffee. You know?
So John, is this? I'm catching you as you taste, but is this still mostly ready, or is there more Bingham Cab Franc?
No, this one actually is mostly Bingham.
Bingham
From the 14. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe we had any ready Cab Franc from the 14 vintage. So I think that he had just planted like maybe the year or two before. I don't think we were getting it. Hold on. It's going to take me a second to suss this out. I've got to
while you're thinking, was it was 14 that the 14 Raven had the double gold, and
Yes.
was it the 15 Cab that had the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. It was the other way around. The 14 Raven did it. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
That was the year we had 4 double golds.
No, the 4 double golds actually were the 15 Raven was the double gold because we skipped 16.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And then it was the 2 14 Cabernets, the single vineyard.
And
Okay.
then the single vineyard Merlot, the
Reserve
Reserve Merlot.
The Reserve Merlot. Yeah. But yes, but that's 2 or 3 double golds on the Raven. That was the issue that people started noticing it.
I mean, 14 must be. I feel like 14 is an underrated vintage year in Texas. We had some great cabs and.
Very much so, simply for the fact that we only had about 50% of the expected crop yield because of the 2013 almost near total loss, 90% loss. The vines were already stunted from that year. They were only going to produce about half of what they did. And it was a great growing year. There were some minor issues, but overall the year 14 was an excellent year. It's just the vines were only going to produce 50% of what they normally do. So we did not have a whole lot. And then 15, 16, culmination 17, 18, 19, all of those years produced great crops in various portions. There were issues. Jet, you don't need to go into them. I know. Jet is on tonight. He's listening very, very attentively. But overall, these guys had some pretty good times. I mean, there were isolated incidents or, things they were recovering from or new plantings, et cetera. 17 was the peak of that, and then of course 20 and 21 both were hard years. So
John, I know you, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot again. I know you were just looking at your notes. The Merlot. So the Merlot in this Chevaux Noir is from where?
The Merlot in this Chevaux Noir is from Jet.
And is that?
Yeah.
What about that? So the Reserve Merlot from that year that won the double gold, is it also the same Merlot vineyard? Off the top of your head?
It's a blend of Jet, Becker, and Amancer.
Okay. Interesting. Well, Jet, I have to say, if you're listening, you're that vineyard just produces such wonderful mature fruit. My God.
Yes.
It's worth every penny of the $250 a ton we get charged.
This is being recorded, so.
And I'm joshing with it. We just sent Jet the new contract, so I hope he signs.
Well, the cool thing is because I knew that this was Merlot from his vineyard, to transition into the cab, to be able to taste this fruit kind of collectively together, through the Chevaux Noir to the cab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sam just commented, love the aroma on the 16, but the 14 is wonderful on the palate. Yep. Yes, it is wonderful on the palate. And Nicole,
good
somebody,
Oh, Sachi. Hi,
Yeah.
Sachi. Hi, Sachi.
how do you say it? Sachi?
Sachi. I always want to call her Saki, but that's what you drink. So Sachi is our friend. She and her husband can come to the winery a lot, and they're wine club members too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really, really like the wines.
Wonderful.
Great.
So Nicole, I'm going to ask you an off the wall question. I'm just curious. You know, you have been with us almost since day one. You've tasted all, you know, all of our wines. When Will and Dad and Houston Mom, we would talk about, you know, what's the wine that we made that really made us feel like we could do this in Texas. Do you remember a first wine of ours that really stood out for you?
No pressure.
That's right. I know I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I can think of like say just one, but I think it was one of my first experiences I remember was being able to smell the Fumé Blanc still in the barrel before it was released. So, you know, at the very beginning, there was a unoaked Sauvignon Blanc, and then there was an off dry wine. There was a Ruby Cabernet. So I think
Sure,
three
I
wines.
remember the Ruby Cab.
And then, but I just remember going down to the barrel when y'all were opening up, you know, taking the bung off, and then just being able to smell not just the oak, but how the oak influences the wine itself. And I just remember it helped build up anticipation for me for getting to try it, and then being able to try it, and then from the first ones that you had, and being able to see what oak did, and and so I remember thinking that was really exciting. And then also when the Viognier came out, because I remember there was, well, not a varietal you heard about a lot unless you were in France or had traveled a lot to Europe. And then I would say with the reds coming out, like the Cabernet Franc, the Cabernet Sauvignon, and I guess, I don't know if this is fair or not, but because of some things not being common, and some things being the more serious wine drinker would be familiar with some of the varietals, but even if you were still someone new to it, if you had the opportunity and made a point to taste some of these, you became smitten with them. And I would say one was the Cabernet Franc. And one of the things I also noticed about Cabernet Franc is, unless you're a diehard Cabernet Franc fan, most people don't like it within the first 7 or 8 months when they're drinking it young. And I've had a lot of guests that would say 8 months later going, when did you release this? And I'm like, oh, no, it's already been out. You're tasting a new maturity to it. Gosh, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't think of just.
No, that's a great answer. I appreciate
that. On that.
Thank you.
And it's been fun to also just guests hearing their feedback. And I still remember there was one lady from a place in Bordeaux that had come out, and she had said before she tried any of the wines, she said, now, and she was very pleasant about how she said it, but she said, I won't like anything because it's not from Bordeaux. And she tried some, and then her favorite was our Cabernet Franc from that lineup. That was
Miriam Bernard, the winemaker from Bordeaux. Yeah.
Huh.
So that was kind of fun,
Yeah.
or is
Great.
fun and exciting.
My favorite use of our wine by Nicole was the case of our prize Raven that I donated to the Dom Escoffier, and Nicole took it, and a chef friend of hers immediately boiled it down, the whole case. I thought maybe we could serve it with the food, Nicole, but
well, in all fairness, for those of y'all that are watching, it was we were doing a beef bourguignon, Texas style,
and it had lots of bourguignon. Yeah,
there were some wines that the chef had worked with, Chef Naylene, that just didn't have as much depth of flavor, and of course, this made it very concentrated. But oh my gosh, it was so delicious. That was like, I think, probably the best beef bourguignon I've had.
I'm sure.
yes.
She did tell me not to tell the Beckers, but I felt like I have to say something.
I was there.
So,
That's awesome.
oh my gosh, it was delicious.
Oh my God.
It was good. I have to admit that. Yeah.
So what do we think between the two Chevaux?
Oh,
Hard.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think?
Bobby, well, or I was gonna say, Bobby, have we heard from you on this one yet?
I mean, I'm kind of smitten by that orange zest characteristic that is so prevalent in the 14. The 16 seems a lot more jammy.
Yeah,
Where this one is still bright, which is
right.
amazing,
Mhm.
beautiful. So
I think both these will improve with time.
oh, definitely, I agree.
Yeah. I don't think the 14 is going anywhere soon. I think it's on a nice long lag. So
I think another 10 years.
yeah.
Right.
I think so.
Still
Yeah.
has plenty of acidity, some very pleasant acidity on the palate.
Susan just said that hers favorite was the 16.
Mhm.
So
Good.
I do love the 16. I'm not gonna lie, but that 14's got a nice there's something very appealing there.
Yes.
I'm leaning towards, if I was just gonna have one or the other tonight, I think I'd pick the 14.
Likewise.
The beginning of the Chevaux Noir.
It is the very first. Okay, are we ready to move on to
You bet.
Wilmeth? I think this is what Jet is waiting for.
I think so.
A drum roll. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay. No, not gonna do it. I'm sorry, Jet. You're gonna have to redo the 14 vintage.
And we made sure to send Jet Brenda's cab, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah. That make- You're gonna get me in trouble. But Dwayne Canada told Jet, I don't know if it was this year or last year. He's like, well, the reason your wine was so good is there were a couple of bins of our grapes on that truck. So it transferred the goodness to yours.
I'm sure that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, there's that almost for an older vintage wine. When I first decanted, I always get a little bit of soy sauce on the edge, on the nose, which to me has always been indicative of something that's about ready to open up into a stellar wine.
I opened these bottles about 4 o'clock.
Not what you were doing in your office.
I can neither confirm nor deny. No, but I understood that, to have it open, have it ready, and just the nose, I'm getting a nice cinnamon edge
Yeah.
on the nose, which is just beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from Dad and John. What style of cab does this remind you of?
Latour for me.
Okay.
Pencil lead and some really dark fruits. Just beautiful, John. I mean, wow.
I'm glad you didn't say Manischewitz.
I couldn't think of it.
Yeah. Moga David? No?
Mogan David. There you go.
Mm.
So sorry.
Don't kill the owner, Bobby.
He needs a straw.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be good.
That'll be next week.
Mm.
So you would almost say this is more left bank than right bank kind of flavor profile, or think it's
I don't know how much sense that makes, but
like
just
Bordeaux?
of the Bordeaux I've tasted, this is Latour-like for me. And Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, or I was just being a little more simplistic. I was definitely thinking it's, it's very sophisticated. It's more old world. It's hard, Bobby, to make that classification, but it's just, I feel like we tasted a cab. I was trying to remember which one, Dad. We tasted an older Bordeaux from your cellar about a week ago that was very reminiscent of this. But I like the Pincelette. It's dark, it's rich. It's amazing how Jet's fruit just, when it's younger, you get in these incredible dark fruit notes. And as it ages, you get this incredible maturation, John, I think that you really bring out of the wine.
It's a wonderful, I'm really, really enjoying it.
Wow.
Do you think it has any similarities to Russian River, or is that my little?
No, if you were looking at Sonoma, I would say Knights Valley, but hold on,
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a bottle off the top shelf here, because there's one, and it wasn't the Heinz.
He's reaching for the top shelf.
Yeah. Damn, sorry. So the Plock here, what is this, a 66? Yes. There you go.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Grand Prix Lacoste,
Yeah.
that'll have some Merlot in it. Won't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it does. And I mean, there's with this Jet, I mean, there's Jet Cab and Jet Merlot. That's what the 14 is.
it is. And,
Yeah, there's almost every year that I've put that cab together, I've used some of his Merlot in there. It's just adds that touch of velvet.
mhm.
His cab is a pretty bold cab. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
And what are the percentage blends here, John, in the 14?
The 14 is, I believe, it's better than 95% cab. I
thought
was trying to get onto my desktop from my phone, and I'm not having success to look at those. The 15 and older blends are all in a folder, or paper printed out, but I was having trouble getting into my Dropbox to look on my desktop. So, but this is good. I almost want to say this is 96 cab and 4% Merlot. It's no more than that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the blend is. I was looking at it earlier today, knowing what we were about ready to taste. So,
It's pretty classic of the Tokyo appellation.
Yes.
absolutely indicative of Far West
It
Texas.
should be. It
I don't
is.
mean- Yes, I'm not trying to be pedantic, but
Not trying.
No, it's-
And I think Tokyo could easily be classified as a Grand Cru.
I do too. Yeah.
okay, but I still want that old brick schoolhouse or whatever it is right there in downtown Tokyo.
Yeah.
The 10 Montrose, Joe, that we
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very similar, isn't it?
got some great depth. It's got a lot of, it's very jammy, a lot of raspberry jam to it.
Uh-huh.
Some nice baking
Jet,
spices.
Jet just said it's from the southern slope of the Tokyo appellation.
So is Jet.
Yeah. So is Jet. Jet is cut from a unique piece of cloth. Heather just checked in. The 14 Wilmeth aroma on the taste buds is absolutely wonderful. Aged nicely. Looks to have many more years in our cellar as well. And Heather, you're absolutely right. I do believe it will. And I hope you have many more bottles to try every year through the next multiple years for that.
And we can take care of that for you. We've got a few.
There we go. There's our e-commerce director.
So yeah, we've got a few surprises. So
And the earliest we can
No.
ship out is tomorrow morning, first thing.
first thing.
I'm loving that 14 Chevaux, but this cab is just, this is a Cabernet.
It is. It is.
This is what you want to make.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that without sounding.
This is a
like
double gold, John. This is one
Yeah.
of your great double golds.
It just
So what
It
does
is-
Jet
it's a
say
good
about
wine.
it?
And John, it's getting better than when I
Yes,
tasted
it is.
it years ago. It's just incredible.
He says the Southern slope.
Yes. I love it.
Sounds
Dr.
like a
Becker, when
Cubs character.
did you try your first Cabernet Sauvignon? Like, where were you when you decided that Cabernet Sauvignon is one of your favorite grape varietals?
Is that to me or Joe?
It can be to both of you, but yeah, just like what inspired you to plant it, work with it, and so forth.
Well, I think part of my inspiration about this was how good Bobby Cox's cab was. When I tasted that, those 83, 82, Cab Francs and Cabernets from Pheasant Ridge, I thought this is as good as Cabernet can be. And if he can make this in Texas, that's what we ought to try to do. So that, but I guess I think you're probably starting off this Sutter Home White Zinfandel, and then you think maybe your palate kind of evolves a little bit. Then you kind of discover Cabernet, and the complexity of Cabernet and all the various grapes that are blended it's wonderful. And then I think as you get older, then your palate sort of likes Pinot Noir or Burgundy, and it kind of goes in that direction. And but John, I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. But I thought, based on what Bobby Cox had made, I thought that's why I planted all 5 of the red Bordeaux grapes with that thought in mind.
Okay.
Joe planted them. So.
I did. And Nicole, actually earlier when I remember we were planting them, and I remember planting the Ruby Cab row, and then I remember that if you're in the back vineyard and you're facing towards the south, the westernmost row on the south side of that vineyard was a specific clone of Cab. It was a Franciscan clone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
that I remember we were experimenting with. But another point I wanted to make was I saw John and I kind of look at the same, I think, Texas wine groups on Facebook, and I saw an interesting question last night, and somebody said, how much do all these major wine competition awards really mean? It seems like when you look at them, there's a bunch of awards given. That almost all the wineries seem to get a bunch of awards. And our friend Jeff Cope, I think, answered it very nicely and said, "Well, no, not every winery wins awards." But I think for us, these golds and double golds say a ton, because specifically, this is a wine that won a double gold in the San Francisco Chronicle wine competition, a year that we won 4 double golds. There was maybe one other vineyard that won more than that, maybe won 5, but really not much else came close. And a double gold really means that they've got 60 some odd judges through 3 rounds of tasting that have to give that same wine a gold medal through each round of tasting. And if you look at, we obviously we made some great wines early on. Russell Smith did a nice job, but I think we won 1 double gold, as you say, Dad, in the first decade or so. And then since
Maybe.
John's been here, I mean, how many gold and double gold medals have we won in these major competitions? And I think it really says something that you have a big group of industry peers tasting these wines blindly and finding them to be complex and interesting and really competitive on a world stage. I think it says a lot about our winery and a lot about our grape growers in Texas.
Well, thank you.
It is. It's something else to be reflected upon by peers in your industry, and to be given that. So yeah, it's easy.
This is sort of the Paris tasting every year. These judges are all California wine. These are the best winemakers in the world, except the one that's drifted to Texas. But it's they're tasting the wine blind. They don't know if it's from where it's from. And
we're in Texas.
I can't say it out loud. Anyway, but it's really this is the way you have to judge wine. I mean, you can't just say, hey, Bubba, you got to taste this. I mean, it needs to be blind. It needs to be, up. We had a number of years in Texas where we thought anything you put in the bottle, just sell it. Don't worry about it. And actually, I had an early Texas winemaker tell me it doesn't have to be that good to sell. And that was not our goal. Our goal was to make wine like this. And,
Could we put that in a corporate statement? Yeah. XYZ Wine Company. Doesn't have to be that good to sell it.
I believe the expression was, "It's good enough for Texas wine."
Oh, God.
Ow.
Oh,
Ow.
That's a letdown.
Yeah.
That guy's
You
now
know,
retired.
which
So-
really blows me out of the water considering how competitive most Texans are. How
Yeah.
they want to be the best, how they want to do things. I'm like, could you imagine if somebody applied that to the term football? Well, you don't have to play that well to get out there and do it.
Texans don't like anybody to tell them no. You can't.
Right.
So
Really?
it just makes the
Yeah.
raise the bar
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Gary, who often writes some of my favorite comments. The Wilmeth has a great beat that is easy to dance to.
I love that.
I'd like to see a few moves from Jeff. If we could get a
Yeah. And then Sam just commented that he's having cheese with potato pierogies with bacon and onion with the Wilmeth cab.
That's
Good idea.
Yeah,
That's great.
I know, right? That does sound like a good idea. The great segue. So have you guys been thinking food?
Nonstop.
Well, that don't stop.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Ever since she said beef bourguignon, that's just like, oh my gosh.
well, Nicole, pick a wine and pair it with the food. What would you do?
Gosh, beef bourguignon would be one. And also I was thinking about osso buco and then like polenta, just side by side, keeping it simple.
Sure.
And then when I finish here, my mom she's baked a roast, and so caramelized onions, caramelized carrots, and I think I've only met one other person that made a roast better than her, and it was one of my roommates from college, Sandy King. Her grandmother made an excellent roast, but just how that all marries together. I mean, it's just a couple ingredients, but it just makes a world of difference. So I guess I'm kind of thinking heavier meats tonight.
Right. Osso buco sounds really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, what do you think, sir?
I was thinking, I had a couple thoughts. I think maybe my wife and I had a wonderful pizza last night with ricotta cheese and the right kind of lighter tomato sauce. It was perfect, and I was thinking it would be wonderful with the maybe the 16 Chevaux Noir.
Right.
And I think I was also may not be the best pairing, but I was craving shepherd's pie. And the last great shepherd's pie that I had was made by Chef Michael at the winery for a Christmas dinner one year. So
now, did he use lamb?
I don't remember.
Okay. Because I get very, very picky about shepherd's pie and lamb. So
Thing.
And how many? And I see different recipes on shepherd's pie. What are some of the ingredients that y'all like best in shepherd's pie?
Lamb.
Peas, maybe? No?
Now, some are very complex, and then some are a little more on the simple side, but both being really delicious. I was just curious.
I'm not as adroit as a chef as others in my family, but I know that I have had. I know that the other thing I was thinking too was beef bourguignon. And the last time I was in Chicago was right before COVID, and we had a wonderful dinner with Uncle Robert and a friend who was a reporter and a friend of his, and he made the most incredible beef bourguignon. But I do remember Dad telling him to add a little bit more wine into the sauce, and I feel like it's the body of that sauce that's so important. And I can't elaborate more than that, but that's what goes so well.
Puts a whole case in. I mean,
Dr. Becker, you
Well
can't tell me
bottled.
about the sauce.
I mean, start with
Now,
boiling down.
Nicole, how many people were fed off of that case of wine in the sauce?
7.
We had like, what was it? Maybe almost 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it was
Isn't
delicious.
that what Jesus did?
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you
Yes.
say?
He multiplied the fishes and made wine.
Jesus, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, it was
Uh,
awesome.
there you go.
Okay. I totally want to tell my joke. But anyway, Bobby, what food would you pair?
Oh man, I'm thinking going stroganoff
There you go.
Oh,
Sure.
with that 14 Chevaux Noir. I think just
Uh-huh.
the heavy cream, the beef.
Right.
I mean, I think that would be amazing.
See, I'm thinking more kind of almost Eastern European influence, something with a lot of earthy beets, some good, a little bit of smoked paprika, some heavy tomato paste, bloom the tomato paste in there, really cooked down. Something along those lines. Those
Maybe a
ingredients.
good goulash.
What?
A good goulash, maybe.
Not really a goulash, more like really more along the lines of a stroganoff, but like a tomato base
Okay.
with a little bit
Gotcha.
of smoke edge to it. Yeah, and beef.
Well,
Yeah, for
for
sure.
me, I have a friend, an acquaintance really, who keeps talking about making a roast goose. And I keep inviting myself over every time I hear about it.
All right.
And it never happened.
Okay. As soon as I get the dining room put back together, all the holes in the wall repaired, apparently we were very active.
Sounds like it's a date.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay. So roast goose. So,
It
all
would be
right,
good.
Bobby, what's on before I get in any more trouble? What's online for next week?
Next
Yeah,
week,
Bob, you're going to top this? I want to hear this.
Yeah, all right, right.
so we kind of, it was kind of woven in there talking about Canada's cab going to Jet. We're actually doing
Jeff, yeah, jet earmuffs, buddy.
on those earmuffs. We're doing a vertical tasting of Canada's cabs next week.
Ooh,
We're doing 14, 15, and 16.
oh gosh.
So
Be sure and call them, Bobby, see if they'll join us. That would be fun.
yes,
Yeah, absolutely. And
definitely.
if not, we can get Jed on to give his opinion on them.
That would be one.
They're just right around the corner. So
I think we should get Jet and Dwayne Canada on.
There you go.
nothing better.
Absolutely.
But if you enjoyed this pack tonight, we do still have some wine available to be able to purchase more. So
That's
if you'd like to have more of this together,
Fantastic.
it is available. But we are definitely getting ready for this vertical tasting for the Canada next week.
Fantastic. And
Nice job.
perfect. Well, listen, everybody, all I'm going to say is cheers to the evening. Thanks again for inviting us into your living rooms for the hour. And I hope you all have a great week. Stay safe and healthy. Good glass of wine, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.